Hello, and welcome once again to You Need to Ask the Question. I am Rabbi Ira Hill, and here are some thoughts on counting. Right now, Klal Yisrael is in the midst of counting Sfiras HaOmer, the Omer, for 49 days in preparation for Shavuos. As well, we know that after the Torah was received, that Moshe went up for 40 days on Har Sinai in order to get the Luchos and bring them back to Klal Yisrael. So basically, one of the questions that many people ask is why is Shavuos a counting up from 1 to 49 instead of counting down from 49 to 1? Because as we get closer to something, like a rocket ship blasting off, you count down. And other things, when we're one day closer to something, we usually count down. So why does the Torah choose to count up to 49 opposed to counting down? So that's the first question. And the second question, these thoughts are a little bit at first disjointed. These are talking about different time periods, but maybe we can come in with one answer that could bring it together. The second question that has always bothered me is that we know that after the Moshe went up to get the Luchos, Klal Yisrael made a mistake in counting. Moshe said he's going to be there for 40 days, and they miscounted somehow, and they came to Aaron and said Moshe Rabbeinu is gone. There are midrashim telling about how they got confused, afterwards, they came to Aaron and said we need a new leader, and subsequently they went and made the Egel Azav, the golden calf, and they sinned with the golden calf. Moshe came down on the proper day that he was supposed to come down, and he broke the Luchos, and most of us know what happened afterwards. So the question that bothered me is, how could Klal Yisrael make this mistake? How can you make a mistake counting to 40? They count to 40. Obviously, it was a mistake because he's supposed to come down on the right day, and they came to Aaron a day early. So where was the mistake, the initial mistake in counting? So we have two questions. Why are we counting up for Shavuot as opposed to counting down? And why is how did Klal Yisrael make a mistake in their counting in regards to the Ega? Okay, so dealing with the first question, the idea of counting up versus counting down, is when a person counts down for something, the counting is not important to the event. What is that we're looking to get close to a certain event or a certain time period or a certain place, and therefore the counting is just a means to keep track of how far we have to go. However, when a person is counting up, when you add on, each and every day has a significance. For example, when a person is dieting, or a person who has an addiction issue is now counting days of sobriety, you notice that they count up. How many days? They have 1 day sober, 2 days sober, 3 days sober, because each day is an accomplishment in of itself. Same thing when somebody is dieting. Whenever something is important to us, the process of counting, then we each and every day adds to the number till we get to our goal, right? So therefore, when a person is counting up for something, it means that each day is important, and that's what was happening over here. After Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim and they began counting Sfiras HaOmer, they were on the 49th level of Tumah. They were on the lowest level that they could reach, and each day they counted and they made a step forward, and each day they made an accomplishment. Because if we look at it carefully, if you're on the negative 49 and you need to go to positive 49, which is the level they reached when they received the Torah, then you need to now go a total of 98 days, right? Because then you have to go from 49 to 0, and then 0 to 49. The fact that we only have 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos shows that each time they changed a midas of tumah, a negative trait, a level that they did, and they stopped doing that, it turned immediately to a level of holiness. So it wasn't 49 levels of tumah, of unholiness, and then they were on 48 level. No, when they went from 49 to 48, they had one level of kedusha as well. And subsequently, the same thing when they went to level 2 of kedusha. They removed the level of tumah. They immediately got the level of kedusha. So therefore, each day has a significance. So when we count Sphira, it's not that we're counting till we get to Shavuos, and that's all important. Each day is a sense of accomplishment. Each day we should be growing and changing and fixing one of our traits from negative to positive in order that we're ready to be Makabel the Torah on Shavuos. So when we go, today, we're going to the 13th day. So that meant Klal Yisrael eradicated 13 levels of Tumah, and they also now have accomplished 13 levels of Kedusha. So that's why we count up opposed to counting down. And this is what our focus should be, is that each day of the Sphira should mean something and should make a positive change. And sometimes it's the same change, just reinforcing it, like we said. That I have 2 days now that I made davening, 2 days in a row that I didn't speak Lashon Hara. I have 3 days in a row that I had kavanas during my brachas. This is what we're supposed to do. So that's why we're counting up for Shavuos and not counting down. Now, how does this help us with the question of how did Klal Yisrael make a midday after Shavuos on not counting the 49 days properly? The 40 days of Moshe being on Har Sinai properly. So Moshe told Klal Yisrael, I'm going up for 40 days and 40 nights, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring the luchos. However, the day that Moshe went up was a day that Klal Yisrael shouldn't have counted. And how do we know that? That they shouldn't have counted the day he went up, because earlier, right before the Torah was given, Hashem says to Moshe, I want you to prepare Klal Yisrael for 2 days. And Moshe realized that the 2 days have to be 2 full days, and therefore the day that Hashem mentioned this to him could not be counted among those 2 days, so therefore he added on 1 more day from his own understanding. And therefore, when Hashem said, prepare yourself for 2 days, in essence it turned out to be 3 days, or 2 days plus the day that he was told. Because you can't count the day if it's in the middle of the day regarding these matters. And therefore, we know that Hashem agreed with this because Hashem appeared to us. We have the revelation at Sinai on the day that Moshe was expecting to have Klal Yisrael ready. So therefore, that logic that Moshe learned out was sound, and therefore it is the way you were supposed to do things. Similarly, over here, Moshe said, 40 days I'm going to go up, and 40 days I'm going to stay there day and night, which means there had to be 40 full days. Therefore, you couldn't count the first day. Seems like the people who instigated the Egel didn't listen to the Rebbe's first lesson. Moshe Rabbeinu said, "I'm going to you can't." He said you can't count this day because it's in the middle of the day, but they counted that day anyway. So that means the Egel started. We lost a tremendous level basically from not following the first teaching, the first class that our teacher Moshe Rabbeinu gave us. That you can't count the day you can't count that day if it's in the middle of the day. A partial day is not considered a full day for that. So a lot of things came out from our act with the golden calf because we didn't really trust and follow our teachers. One of the things that we have to do, and in these times are very difficult, that we need to have a level of trust in our chachamim. It's very hard today when we see a lot of things that are going wrong, and sometimes we get close to people who are great, and we sometimes see part of their flaws. But we need to understand that the people that Hashem put into leadership, He gives a special siyata d'shmaya. And even though their logic may not always be understandable to us, we have a trust that Hashem is going to make sure that they do the right decision. So therefore, we have to work on these days of Amunas Chachamim, which, going back to the first idea of counting up in Sphira, they failed to do during those 40 days. They were counting down, so to speak. 40 days to Moshe coming back, 39 days to Moshe coming back, 38 days till we get to Luchas, and therefore the counting was insignificant, and therefore they made a mistake. What could have been that each day they counted one day. What do I have to do to prepare to get the luchos? 2 days I have to prepare to get the luchos. They could have been counting up, and therefore the count itself takes on a significance. Hopefully we count properly and each of our days are full with meaning and growth. Have a wonderful week.